Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of October 14th, the Land Division Committee to order. Just a few little reminders at the start. Any presentations will be limited to 10 minutes. Anyone who has a cell phone or other electronic device, would you please turn it off so it doesn't interfere, or at least put it on silent. Please use the microphone when making a presentation, because there will be people that are attending by Zoom, and that's the only way they can hear us. So having said that, any disclosure of pecuniary interest by either of the members? I have none.
I have none.
And I have a draft motion at the minutes of the Land Division Committee meeting held on May 13th, 2025. We approve as amended to correct the motion number. It was moved by Doug James and second by Stephen Lewis. Any comments or discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. And the second motion, and it's moved by Stephen Lewis, second by Doug James, that the agenda be adopted as presented. Any changes or amendments or questions? All in favor? And that too is adopted. So Allison, if you want to introduce our first application, that would be great.
So Byron and Glenda Sweeney submitted consent applications B25-043, B25-044, and B25-045 to create 3 new residential lots along Lanark 12th Concession C within the Township of Lanark Highlands. The proposed 3 severances and the retained lands meet the minimum frontage and area requirements of the local zoning bylaw. The review of the application considered the features on the subject lands as well as the surrounding uses and received comments supporting the application in principle from the Township Conservation and Septic Inspector. 1 comment from the public was received concerning the applications in relation to the local official plan, sustainable communities official plan, and the provincial planning statement. The comment is presented as Appendix E within the report, and staff are recommending the application be granted provisional approval in accordance with the draft decision presented within application A, or sorry, Appendix A.
Thank you very much. Now, do we have people in the public that wish to address the committee in relation to these applications? Yes, please come forward and pick a seat. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Michelle Vermette, and I'm here with my partner, Lori McKay, who's sitting behind me. Our property abuts the Sweeney property.
Okay, we'll need to get you sworn in before you make a presentation. Good. So and we'll turn the mic on and off as we speak. It creates a little feedback otherwise. So do you solemnly affirm that the evidence to be given by you in these proceedings shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so we have had an opportunity to read through your detailed report. It was very detailed, and thank you very much for putting that together. So really, this is the opportunity for you to provide the committee with additional comments or to make something specific that you wanted to raise.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for the opportunity to make a submission this morning. I'd like to thank you for rescheduling this meeting from September to accommodate us. We don't expect to change your mind, as staff appears to have recommended your approval. Indeed, we're dismayed that our thoughtful comments were given so little reference and consideration in the staff analysis. The Lanark Highlands report doesn't even acknowledge that we provided comments. Where in section 4, it states that no comments were received, nor is our letter attached to that document. The report from Lanark Highlands is dated August 7, and while our comments were provided on August 6th, and we met with the township's consultant on August 26th, it appears that the township ignored our comments. That being said, I'd like to make 3 substantive points. The first is about the requirement for a hydrogeological assessment in this application. The second is that we're seeking to have the agricultural uses of our property recognized and protected in this process. And finally, our third point is about the gradual erosion of the character of the rural community in Lanark Highlands, which is at odds with the main principles of various planning planning policies. Our first point is that according to the planning documents, a hydrogeological assessment is required because the biggest of the lots is equal to 2.0 hectares. An assessment would not be required if the lot was greater than 2 hectares, but the lot is not greater than 2 hectares. It is equal to it. The Lanark Highlands official plan says that a hydrogeological and terrain assessment is required when any of a list of criteria apply. One is where the development involves the creation of more than one building lot. It goes on to say that where more than one lot is being created and one or both is greater than 2 hectares, a hydrogeological assessment will not be required. The proposed lots are apparently 1.2, 1.4, and 2.0 hectares in size. None is greater than 2 hectares. In fact, in the documents provided, consent B2543 is variously described as having both 60 and 70 meters of road frontage. Regardless of this discrepancy, neither 60 nor 70 meters of frontage, a lot more than 2 hectares given the proposed dimensions. A hydrogeological assessment is therefore required, contrary to staff opinions. Protecting the ongoing agricultural use of our property. We're seeking to protect our existing property and its agricultural use. While a 30-meter setback might be considered in further development of B2543, we requested that a covenant be registered on the title of that lot. This specific request was not acknowledged in the staff analysis. We're seeking this covenant as specifically outlined in the Lanark Highlands official plan to ensure that future owners of that property are aware that we intend to continue the agricultural use of our property. A covenant should be required to be registered on the property lots, stating that the lots are adjacent to an agricultural area and may therefore be subjected to noise, dust, odors, and other nuisances associated with agricultural activities. This is specifically outlined in the Lanark Highlands official plan. While a 30-meter setback from the sideline of B2543 could be part of a future decision on development of the lot, as per the staff analysis, registering a covenant on the title would make this issue clear. When is a plan not a plan? Our third and final point is about the gradual erosion of the rural character of the area. If you plowed through our detailed submission, you'll have noted that the bulk of it is quotations from the provincial, county, and township planning documents. These documents make strong references to the protection of rural communities and their characters. The documents use phrases like population growth and employment is intended to be directed to settlement areas. To maintain the distinct character of rural areas, the creation of new lots in rural areas shall be limited in nature and protect the character and identity of rural areas. These types of statements come up again and again in the documents, but they apparently mean little given that they have no real effect. Of course, rural development is allowed. We don't challenge that. But one way this policy direction is to be operationalized is the requirements set out in the Lanark Highlands official plan for Lanark Highlands Council to monitor lot creation in the regional housing market on an annual basis and to exercise its ability to defer lot creation should there be a trend toward increasing rural development in comparison with urban, village, or hamlet areas. There's no discussion in the staff analysis from either the township or the county about the regional housing market or the growth in settlement areas and how that growth compares to the growth in rural areas. We've no way of knowing that you've considered that information in your decision about the consent. From our perspective, there does not appear to be much, if any, growth in Lanark Village, nor in its 6 hamlets, and yet lot creation in rural areas continues unabated and at a great pace, in direct contradiction to the 3 official plans. The only real limitations on rural lot creation are the 3 consent rule, increased from the previous 2 consent rule, the post-2003 rule, the minimum 0.8 hectare rule, the minimum 60 meters of road frontage, and the prohibition against development on wetlands. Looking at a less than 2 kilometer stretch of concession 12 in the area of these applications, this means that 20 lots or more could potentially be created if all landowners applied for consent. With the new provincial rule allowing 2 residences per lot, some 40 residences could be developed without considering it a change to the rural nature of the area. Indeed, this could happen throughout the rural highlands. In summary, we've addressed 3 points. The requirement for a hydrogeological terrain assessment as per the LHOP, a request that a covenant be registered on the title of B2543 to protect our own use and enjoyment of our property, and the general point that little by little, the rural character of Lanark Highlands is being eroded because development is taking place in the rural areas rather than in the settlement areas, which is where most development is meant to take place. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Permet. Do any of the committee members have any questions? Doug?
Yes, where specifically is your property located? North, south, across concession
It's
12?
north. It's right next to that one where the cursor is on the map right now, right
Yeah.
next to B2543.
Okay.
And right there is an agricultural field on that line fence.
And what kind of agricultural processes? do
This year
you-
there were soybeans in the field.
Soybeans?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything
Other
further?
questions?
Stephen? Okay, so we had a couple of people that came in here as the meeting started. Would you be the Sweeney's by any chance? Yeah, we need to use your microphone, and I'll ask Mr. Vermette if you could turn yours off, just we get feedback if they're all on at the same time. And here's the button there, you have to.
Okay,
So if you could state your name for our records, and I'll get you sworn in, and then you can answer any questions we may have of you.
it's Brian Sweeney and my wife Glenda. What would you like?
Are both of you going to be talking, or?
No,
No, Brian's going to be the spokesperson unless he gets kicked or something. Is that correct? Yeah,
That's
okay.
correct.
So do you solemnly affirm that the evidence to be given by you in these proceedings shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So this would be your opportunity to make any kind of presentation to the committee you wish to make, and then we may have some questions for you as we go forward. So I'll let you make any presentation you want to make first, and you don't feel obligated that you have to.
Okay. No, I have a little summary here. Good morning to everybody. I apologize for being late, but that was unforeseen. I could not help it. Thank you to the Land Division Committee for your time and consideration of these severance applications, and to Lori and Michelle for presenting their concerns. Your feedback prompted a thorough review of the details, and I was back up to see Forbes and went over everything about a 4th or 5th time, which confirmed we are in full accordance with the policy. I was very glad to see the county's report already addresses the majority of the questions raised in this lengthy submission. I would like to add a few key pieces of information today to further affirm your decision and to clarify several points that Lori and Michelle may not be aware of. Large farms in the area and noise and odor. The concern regarding noise and smell from large dairy farms is based on outdated information. There are currently no active dairy farm operations adjacent to or near my property. The nearby dairy farms, including those operated by Kevin McIntosh, Alf James, John James, Brian and Lillian Drummond, which are all abutting my property, have all ceased their operations within the past 1 to 7 years. Even the next closest dairy farm operation, run by Ray Halpney, is no longer active. The reality is that the potential for agricultural noise and or odor has significantly decreased and not increased in the recent years. Further to the matter of noise and odor, It is important to note that the provincial legislation which protects farmers' right to farm, including the associated noise and odor of normal agricultural practices. At the same time, this legislation also provides residents with the right to bring forward a complaint to the Normal Farm Practices Protection Board if they believe that noise and odors exceed what is considered normal. To impose a covenant on a deed, as has been suggested, would in effect remove the rights that are already recognized and protected under the provincial law. In my opinion, neither myself nor Lori and Michelle, nor even this committee has the authority to override provincial legislation. With regards to limited access to building next to agricultural property, I imagine that would be taken care of by our local bylaw officer when they approve for a building to be built. Also, putting septic systems or well adjacent would be covered under the same in this area, Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority. So I feel it would be redundant to try and put a covenant on a deed to say that you couldn't build within the 30 meters of agricultural property. Clarifying the traffic impact. The suggestion that these severances will lead to an increase in traffic also overlooks the current state of farm operations. Presently, the road sees regular traffic from public school, high school, and Catholic school buses, as well as mail delivery whenever it's running. This traffic pattern will not change. Crucially, the high impact commercial farm traffic is already gone. No longer do we have 20-ton feed trucks supplying dairy operations or the 40-ton tractor trailer that picked the milk up. In this aspect, the severance will introduce minor residential traffic, which is easily absorbed and is far less impactful than the commercial farm traffic that has recently been removed. Assurance of regarding water supply. Any concern regarding the local water table and supply is unfounded. I have with me, if anybody wants to check into it, a copy of my well registry, which documents a well 42 feet deep. It was tested with a pumping at 25 gallons per minute for an hour and a half, confirming the strong and reliable water supply. Approximately 1/3 of the way in our laneway, slightly into the bush area, there is a spring that has continued to have water even throughout this recent drought. As Michelle and Lori have emphasized, the wetlands play an important role in recharging the aquifers in this area. In fact, their own description of these wetlands extending through my property, their property, and continuing across several concessions serves as a reassurance of the strength and reliability of our water supply. For the lot description, just the farm buildings and residents of Lori and Michelle's property adjacent to mine. Kevin McIntosh is the property across the road from these lots, and the property of my own cannot be seen from these lots, and from my property cannot be seen from these lots. Neither are we able to see the lots from our residence, maintaining privacy. In conclusion, I would like to emphasize that we have always enjoyed a respectful neighborly relationship with Lori and Michelle. While we may find ourselves on opposite sides of this particular matter, I look forward to continuing that good relationship in the future. Thanks again for your time, Brian and Glenda. Questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Sweeney. So any of the committee members have any questions? Stephen?
Yeah, one, I guess, just to staff, I'm just looking existing use, agriculture, bush, woodland. I know it's all zoned residential. And I don't think I've ever really seen where you're doing 3 consents, where there is an environmental impact statement required when you're next woodland or whatever. And bush, or whatever you want to call it. And when there's 3 lots, there's usually a hydro G required when you do 3. I understand, like, quite often when there's 1 goes through, we don't ask for all those things. Why? It's just a different township. Lanark Highlands doesn't require it, or how come we don't have those conditions?
So the identification of required studies is done by the local municipality because it's driven by their official plan. The county official plan does have some policies around studies, but the details are usually with the local municipal plans. And the county tends to be deferential to the local planner in terms of their interpretation of their plan and therefore what studies are required. In the EIS in this case, while the lots do abut, obviously natural features, because there's a buildable envelope identified outside of that, an environmental impact statement wasn't required. In terms of the Hydro G, the commenter and yourself certainly raised an interesting point about this very specific language of that policy, where one of the lots does need to be greater than 2 hectares to suggest that a hydrogeological study is not required. Again, we defer to the local municipality. The planner there determined that one wasn't required as a part of this study. However, if the committee was concerned about the consistency with policy, you could certainly add a condition under the counties that suggested that one of the lots must be greater than 2 hectares. So when they survey it out, if you do grant provisional approval, it would be greater than 2 hectares and therefore consistent with policy.
Thank you.
Doug, any questions or comments?
I only had concerns over an EIS and a Hydro G as well. And Michael's certainly answered those questions.
Yeah, we went through quite a history on what we did in relation to Hydro G and well requirements for lots over the number of years that I've been on this committee. And I think the end result was we were directed that it was the local municipality who would make the decision whether a hydrogeological report was required or not. Because if there is a problem with well water, it's the local municipality that ends up having to be responsible to find a solution in consultation with the owners. So that was the way all that worked out. So in relation to the Hydro G, I feel that if the township's not requiring it, then I don't believe that we can require it. We have, however, put a notice in our comment section or in the notes section at the bottom of application or approvals before, saying that we are not responsible for assuring the quality or quantity of water that may be supplied on the lot. And I think that we should probably consider adding that again. Question for you, Doug. We've been advised that it's not possible to put covenants on title anymore, or the registry office doesn't accept that. Could you explain that a little bit, just so that we understand further? I understand better.
Yes, the registrar in Toronto, there's no longer a registry system applicable to the county of Lanark. It's all controlled out of Toronto, and those covenants are frowned upon by the registrar because they're almost meaningless as far as the title is. There's always a way around them. Is what the registrar explains, but it is a covenant on title, but they can be ignored by a prospective purchaser. It's simply a warning device, and the registrar doesn't like to have encumbrances on title that they can be ignored. So that's my explanation for being a former lawyer. As to why maybe the registrar frowns upon covenants on title.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, to put in the notes, and I guess you can't really put it on because they're not going to do a development agreement that costs it with your quality and quantity of water. But I think Mr. Sweeney already talked about the agricultural, I think from the odor side of it, but there's also noise, dust, and odor. And if you're doing soybeans, well, I'm a cash crop farm. I know it can get very noisy and dusty sometimes. There should be something about that in the notes too, I think.
Yeah, again, we had kind of a standard clause we've used in the past in the notes, basically to inform prospective purchasers that there's agricultural activities in the vicinity. It's notes on a consent application or on a consent approval, conditional approval, but it's probably the best that we can do if there's no development agreement. Is that your thoughts as well, Doug, or?
That's correct. I have nothing further to add to that.
Michael, do you have any suggestions on how we would make sure people informed of those two things? Is the notes are kind of only alternative?
Yeah, especially when you're talking down the road in terms of future property owners. I mean, if you add notes to the decision and as an advisory note, that certainly informs the person completing the consent that these conditions may persist from time to time. But the future purchaser of the lot will never see that document because the provisional approval is not registered on title, only the actual consent certificate once it's stamped. And the member is correct. Under land titles, unlike old registry where you could almost register anything against the title of a property, under the new system, there's very limited things that can be registered against the property. Restrictive covenants are still permitted, but a restrictive covenant isn't a notice to title that something may happen. A restrictive covenant is that you cannot do something, and that's in favor of another property, which wouldn't necessarily apply in this case. So you could put it on as an advisory note, but even that I question the benefit because again, this isn't being completed by an applicant purchaser. This is being completed by an applicant owner. So the Sweeney's, when they transfer the property, there won't be any transfer of that information to the third party. I mean, realistically, we live in a rural community. People who buy a lot in a rural area are obviously cognizant that, farming operations occur around them. I understand the neighbor's concern. You don't want somebody stirring up problems because you're harvesting soybean and it's dusty or whatnot. But it is just a part of rural life. I'm not sure about putting a clause in the document here or whether even if you register it on title, you'll avoid that issue if you wind up having a neighbor who takes issue with it.
Can I add something there?
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Sweeney.
The piece of property owned by Mr. Vermette next to where these lots are is probably a 4 to 5 acre field. And with today's equipment, he can't hardly get into the field to combine it, and it would be done within 2 hours. So I think you're kind of making a mountain out of a molehill even discussing this. Like how long does it take to combine a 4 to 5 acre field with a 30-foot combine? Thanks for allowing me to put a comment in.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Sweeney consistently refers to what occurs today. We're concerned about what occurs in the future with our property. We understand that agriculture has changed in our area. There's no one more conversant with that than we are. It is true that there's no dairy farming close to us anymore. There is still, however, cash cropping going on. And our fields, are actively being farmed. And when we discussed this issue of the covenant on the title with Forbes Simon, he didn't tell us anything about the fact that registering that covenant was not an issue anymore, that couldn't be done. In fact, he said it was a reasonable approach to dealing with the issue. So, but that goes back to his lack of analysis on our comments generally and his ignorance of our submission. It just seems to us that at this point, this can be done. All of our concerns are swept aside by some general rules about how many severances can occur and how big they need to be, without protection to anything with respect to our own property, the nature that's going to be affected, or our future enjoyment of our property. Thanks.
Thank you for your submission. Just briefly, Mr. Sweeney.
I'd like to inform you that there, on this 100 acres, there already is 2 severances, and I don't believe those persons have had a problem with the local agriculture.
Okay, thank you. Anything further from the committee members?
I think I support the application. I'm a little concerned though, and it's Lanark's deal that there's no EIS or hydro-G taking place, but That's their can of worms, I guess. Thank you.
Doug?
I agree with Steve's comments as far as the Hydro G and the EIS are concerned, that if the township isn't requiring it, it's their mandate to say so. And if they aren't requiring it, they're the experts. I'm going to go with it.
Okay, so hearing that, I have a motion. It's moved by Doug James, second by Stephen Lewis. That applications B 2543, B 2544, B 2545 be approved subject to the conditions presented in the planning report. Any discussion on those? All in favor? So that's carried. You'll be notified of the decision of the parties involved and take it from there. Thank you for your submissions.
I guess the Sweeneys realize that it's not final, that there is an appeal period that can come up.
That will be included in the notice when it's sent out to them as when the appeal period ends and all that information there. And then once that's completed, you've got 2 years to get things done, assuming there's no appeal. Well, thanks for attending and good luck with your neighbors. Okay, Allison, you want to introduce our next topic, please?
Numbered company 1154530 Candidate Inc. submitted consent applications B 25-046 and B 25-047 to create 2 new residential lots within the municipality of Mississippi Mills. The proposed severances do not meet the minimum frontage or area within the municipality zoning bylaw, prompting the condition for a zoning bylaw amendment. The review of the application considered the surrounding uses and infill development and received supportive comments from the municipality. The applications did not require reviews by the Conservation Authority or by a septic inspector. 8 comments from the public were received during the commenting period and are presented under Appendix C. 1 comment was supportive of the applications, whereas 7 expressed concerns. The concerns related to environmental drainage impacts, safety, loss of privacy, traffic levels, lack of details about the development, and noise. Staff have considered the comments brought forward and are recommending the applications be granted provisional approval in accordance with the draft decisions presented within Appendix A.
Okay, thank you. Now, do we have people here and on Zoom that wish to make presentations in relation to these applications? If there are, please come forward. The ones that are here, and if there's any on Zoom, you can bring them on too. So are you the only one in the group here that's
That was spontaneous decided. I'm the one to voice our questions.
Okay, so I'll get you.
My name is Malte Menzigal. I live with my wife on the property of 332 Napier Court. And we were informed rather spontaneous in the height of the vacation time.
So I'll get you to swear in before we get any evidence from you, if we could do that. So do you solemnly affirm that the evidence to be given by you in these proceedings shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I will do.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt like that, but now you can proceed.
Oh my God. Well, we live there in a retirement situation, so we have all day to spend our lives in our property, and it will certainly have a certain effect what's happening behind the common fence. The property because of that odd shape, we were with crossed fingers hoping never anything could be built there, which is obviously proved wrong now. But beside all the questions we will have towards the details, we understand Ontario opt for intensification and using of land, and I understand that as an part owner of a property to share your day and your life, but with the application I study here, the size of the property and to squish into a duplex with probably a height elevation darken our lives forever. I can't really see how that will benefit the surrounding areas, because we have all in the 30 homes we have in this small street, dead-end street. We have a small community built within the community. We share our time and our thoughts together. We have street party to introduce everybody to each other. A few changes just have happened by selling homes the second time, but most of the owners there lived there from the beginning. So with this building coming up, there are concerns of the traffic. The traffic consists on, I rather believe, by the sketch you provided, not knowing more details. The garage will face to Napier Court. I believe the driveway can't be longer than one car to accommodate. Usually in our street, to be honest, there are very few garages used at the purpose for that. So since statistically every house has more than two cars, they might end up on the street. And with the winter coming and the plowing problems we encounter because of that odd shape, the snowplow has a straight line usually and scrape away our part of the side yard and dump it to just that. But that's just another nuisance. But with the parking and the snow, I think there will be a problem for the winter time. But for the other situation during the rest of the year, I think there is already a number of cars parked on Adelaide, and numbers spill over into our street as it is right now. So with two more homes coming, and I'm not sure how they will be occupied as tenants, as owners, as a family home, as there's not enough space for more than two people like our homes. Our homes are just 2 bedrooms. So we don't really know any details at this point what this building will look like, and especially how the elevation will be. I've gathered something of 11 meters tall, which would have a certain impact on our private life in our backyard.
Okay, well, thank you for your presentation. Any questions from the committee? Doug,
I really don't have any questions, no.
Stephen?
Yeah, I've the picture, the aerial photograph. Can you put it up? I'm just looking. It looks like kind of a hodgepodge. Are these all duplexes? Looks like buildings are over top of property lines and everything else. Pardon? You're right there.
By the extension of the land provided must to provide some usable space must elevate. So I assume that we talk about of 2 or 2.5 story.
Are those yellow lines actual lots?
Yes, but they're not always accurate. There's often inconsistencies in
Yeah.
our GIS system between the Terranet layer and the GIS layer. But yeah, no, essentially, so like if you look right across the street, there's also a duplex, or sorry, a semi-detached home, which is what's proposed for this site as well. It's just, I think the gentleman's commenting that essentially the neighborhood on Napier is predominantly like a bungalow, a single story. And so some of their concerns relate to just the potential height, but that is regulated and permitted by zoning. So people need to be aware that even if their neighborhood is predominantly single story, if the zoning permits multiple stories, that is something that somebody can choose to build if they wish.
Yeah, because I'm looking at number 187 and 193. It's similar width, but it's not near as deep as that lot. You see what I'm saying? 193 is down by the, I guess should go back to your original, next one up. No, the other, sorry. Should go back to your first one, I guess. Yeah, right there. See, that's roughly the same width, so it's wide enough, but those lots are much longer, right?
The proposed new lots, I believe, will come back parallel to that rear lot. If no, they're not coming all the way back. So
So I guess I'm saying that it'll have to be a smaller footprint. So man's probably right that it's going to have to be 2 stories. Have we got
their proposal. So again, we shouldn't review a proposed lot creation application based on what could be built. That's subject to the local municipality zoning bylaw and any other regulations that they have in place. They have acknowledged that these lots would be undersized relative to zoning for frontage and area. But that is for the local municipality to determine whether or not that's appropriate as part of a zoning amendment, which is a condition of this lot. So if they can't satisfy the local municipality of that, these lots don't get created because it would be a condition of a provisional approval.
have to be done as a zoning amendment, or could they just seek a minor variance?
They'll either or. They could get a special exception zoning amendment for the lot, but I think they'll go the minor variance route just because it's not about the use of the property. It's just about the performance standards not quite meeting them.
Okay, thank you.
So Michael, do they need a zoning bylaw amendment or not? When I read the township report, I got the impression that they did need a zoning bylaw amendment, and we have it as a condition. So are you saying it could be done by minor variance or do they need the zoning bylaw?
They need relief from the zoning bylaw, from what we understand. So it could be a minor variance or zoning bylaw amendment. If the local municipality is saying they want it done via zoning bylaw amendment to establish a special exception zone for the properties, then that's what they would do.
I think the zoning bylaw was for frontage, for reduced frontage, as I understood it.
It would be atypical to do a special exception zoning just for relief of a frontage requirement. But I mean, that's the local municipality's call in terms of what type of application occurs.
Okay, so it could be either or, and I don't know if our conditions are worded as such. Are they worded that way?
So our conditions do include mention of the township's recommendation for a zoning bylaw amendment. The primary purpose, for our understanding, is to address the overall lot area and the frontage itself. When it reaches the development stage, if things progress to that degree, there may be a call for a minor variance to address the individual setbacks for the development itself. So there may be 2 separate layers. As part of the zoning bylaw amendment process, it is a public process. So the nearby property owners would be notified if it reaches that stage.
Yes. Oh, yes, I would. Do you solemnly affirm that the evidence to be given by you in these proceedings should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And perhaps you can just certify your name for the purpose of the record.
My name is Catherine Curry, and I do.
Thanks, Catherine. Now you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe I can provide a little bit more on this. It will have to be through a zoning bylaw amendment because there's a small portion of the rear of the severed lots that are zone development right now.
Mm.
Thank you.
I thought that's what I read, but I wasn't, I'm not a planner, so I was relying on some expertise here. So, okay, so it will need to go through a rezoning. That's going to be a public process. It would be typical in that process that the developer would provide information as to the housing type that's going to be put on the lot. And that would be a great opportunity for the neighborhood people to get involved with providing some input as to what you want and don't want. This is a bit premature to that stage now because the owners are just trying to get the lots created before they probably go and try and find a builder who wants to take it to the next step, which would be the rezoning and so on. So your concerns are certainly valid, but I think there's still an avenue how they could be addressed.
At this stage of information, few information we only have, and the understanding of that, there is nothing at this time to discuss further, I guess, because there's no base for.
Well, I'm not trying to put you off. I'm just saying
No,
there
but-
will be a future opportunity
Yeah, yeah.
that's, and that
Yeah, yeah,
is really not part of our jurisdiction anyway. So,
Yeah.
so we really can't do much other
We
than either
appreciate
approve or
that.
deny, but we appreciate your
Okay.
concerns and I think there's a way to have them addressed.
Okay.
Stephen,
Just a question to Kathy. Has the rezoning been applied for yet, or is it waiting to do the severances, consents?
Through you, Chair, we are waiting to file the zoning. We just wanted some assurances that if the zoning could be satisfied, then they could get the lots. Thank you.
okay, anybody have any other comments? All right, so I got to find the right motion here. There isn't many left, but then,
But confused here. So
Go
the
ahead.
consents aren't going through until the zoning is satisfied. So the zoning is a condition that's going to be going on before the 2 years lapse time that has to be fulfilled before the consents get final. Correct?
Yes, we will start the process relatively soon. They just, the applicant wanted some, they wanted the decision, the provisional consent before they took that next step, because there's more costs associated respectfully. So
There's always cost. Thank you.
anything further? No? Okay, so I have a motion here that applications B2546 and B2547 be approved subject to the conditions presented in the planning report. Any comments? All in favor? The motion's passed. So you'll be notified when of the decision that's made because you all submitted applications and there'll be a public process and notification for the zoning process as well, and that's done by the municipality. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. So I don't think there's any deferred applications, confidential reports? No? So we can move on to 9.1, which is the Land Division Committee structure for next term. I guess this is an open forum for discussion. Michael, do you want to make some comments to get it started, or you want me to try and do that?
No, certainly, Jim as the chair, and I have kind of dialogued outside of the meeting about having a conversation with the committee about potentially talking to to council for next term about what's working with land division, the changes because of delegated authority, what might work best in the future. I guess today was just an idea generation or to get some feedback, and I believe the best approach would be to give staff some direction to come back maybe with a report with some options, and then you guys can mull that over and come up with a final recommendation to council, if any. And so certainly, I guess, turn it over to you, Chair, for kicking it off in terms of detailed discussion.
Well, I think if we look at the numbers, this committee hasn't been very busy the last, certainly the last few months and perhaps in the last entire year. We could look at that, I guess, if we wanted to, or that could be part of a report, but there's not many applications that we deal with. Most of them are done through delegated authority, and I think that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. And I think the county provides an important role in that delegated authority. So I'm not suggesting that it go anywhere else. I'm just thinking that for the few applications that need to be adjudicated at some form of a mini tribunal, if you want to call us that role, there's got to be another way that doesn't involve as much work and as much effort and us getting paid to show up at a meeting to deal with two applications. So whether that be referred back to the local municipality, which is an option, and local municipalities, most of them have a committee of adjustment, if nothing else. That committee, in Frontenac County, that committee takes on the role basically to do the hearings for these types of things. Is what they're doing in most of those municipalities now. So the county in Frontenac provides input to the local municipality, and then if there's a hearing required, it's usually done by the same group that does their committee of adjustment, minor variances, and so on. So there's not really an extra committee that the municipality is setting up. Typically, it's not even an extra meeting because they're meeting anyway. So I think that's a good option, but it's just a thought. I'd open the floor to you guys to let us know what you're thinking. Doug.
One of the concerns that I have is that in setting up this land division committee, I think the county council wanted to have some sort of consistency across the whole county as far as what land division policies there would be. And I see that may not happen if each municipality is doing it on a committee, on their own committees, committee of adjustment. But again, I see some of our applications that are coming through, and where we disagree with a particular municipality, it still goes through, or it's appealed, and it still goes through. So I don't know that the consistency argument really holds anymore. Each of the municipalities are becoming sophisticated in their analysis and their specifications that they want for land division, for creating lots by severances. And if they're going to do that, then I don't see the value of a Lanark County Land Division Committee.
Yeah, I agree with your comment there. I think originally there was an intent to have some consistency. When I first got on this committee a long time ago now, I think that was something that, Bob Strong was a chair then. That was something that CA told us. That was the CEO told us at the time of the county. And it was what we believe county council wanted. What's happened is that all the municipalities have newer official plans. Not all of them are new, but most of them do. And they all have different provisions. We have a fire safety requirement in Mississippi Mills. We have what I think is almost a significant expense for the creation of lots in Montague for requiring archaeological studies when it's in proximity to a wetland, whether it's a cattle watering pond or not. I just, they're very distinctly different. So you have different conditions for each municipality because of that, because their official plans are different. So I think our usefulness is depleting. Stephen.
Oh, I say if we're just going by the official plans and the zoning bylaws of each township, and if it doesn't work out, we get appealed and it goes ahead. We've no teeth to do anything really. It just, like I say, we're just sort of here when there's arguments to take the heat off you guys. If there's a problem, just send it back to the townships. Let them deal with it. Anyway, I don't care. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. Whatever. I think it's county council and the mayors and reeves that should be deciding what they want, not us.
Well, they are the ones who will ultimately have to decide. I think we would have the ability to provide them with some direction as what we think would be best to be done. And that could be just asking Michael to write a report that we review and then goes to county council, or we could just be letting,
I would just,
council members here know that we're just feeling like we're not needed anymore. So
I just let them do their thing.
The only value that we may have is where there are objections from the public, from neighbors like we had today, that they may be satisfied that there is an independent adjudication being made as to the application, somewhat impartial, because certainly the first application that we had today, I sensed that there was some dissatisfaction about the relationship or the replies or the opinion that was being given by the municipal planner, that there was and hopefully what we said today to Mr. Vermette may have helped him in some way to know that we weren't just deciding on the basis of one person's analysis, but it was the whole process of all of the plans that we were looking at that caused us to come to the decision that we came to. Well, there is a value to having in some cases, but the numbers are getting so small. We haven't met since last May, was our last meeting. So the numbers are getting so low, but I just, maybe the county's gonna, because if we aren't here, maybe the county will lower the price of applications, because that's one of my concerns that it always has been for the 10 years or so that I've been on this committee, 8 or 10 years anyway, that the cost of these applications is so high that maybe one of the reasons that I'm here is to see if we can simplify the process and get rid of some of the expense that is caused to an application, a landowner who's applying for a severance.
any additional comments, Michael, or?
No, I mean, I think you guys have hit it on the head. It's hard, to have a committee where you guys are now, because of delegated authority, seeing, maybe 3 to 5% of the total application flow, but I wouldn't discount the role that you play in terms of that third-party adjudicative role, right? People want to make sure that they have an opportunity to be heard, that their positions are considered, and for the most part, people don't accept that occurring at a staff level. They want, and there is an element to be said for either the understanding of the kind of the wider public interest, either from a community member point of view or as a policy maker or an elected official point of view, that there is that second layer of understanding that's applied to applications. This is also kind of mixed up with the changes to the Planning Act, where essentially there's such limited appeal rights that even if somebody disagrees with a decision of council, there's not a lot of outlets for them to take that any further. I think we could do up a quick report that basically outlines at least what the big picture options might be. And if you choose to, you can make a specific recommendation to council if you just want council to make the decision ultimately when they set the new term for 2026 and 2027. We can just advance that at that time through the CAO's office.
I don't think it hurts to do a report. I mean, one of the things that has happened is over the, I'll be on the committee 12 years by the time I'm done. And when I started on the committee, if we made changes to the conditions, people just basically thanked us and that was fine. What's happened the last 4 years, every time we've made a change, it's been appealed by the local municipality, and then the county has amended our conditions, either with our consent or without, through the LPAT process to go back and do what the municipality wants. So if that's going to be the case, going forward, then the municipality might as well be that appeal body that deals with it. That's how I feel about it.
I certainly welcome the staff report as they're the staff that we have. They're so competent that I really would welcome the comments from staff as to what our future will be.
I'm not upset because we got overruled by the municipality, just so you know. That's not why I'm saying that, but if that's what's going to happen, then why do we bother doing it? That's really weird. Well, it's happened 3 times that we've been overruled that way, in my recollection, but there's very few times that we change the conditions to any degree. We've also got tuned in by 3 municipal clerks over the time I've been here. Same one working for two different municipalities, by the way, but 3 different clerks because we amended conditions that they thought were important. Anyway, so do you want to make a motion that we would direct staff to prepare a report?
I will so move.
Second that? Okay, all in favor? All right, that's done. Well, the report will go to county council eventually, right? If we last that long. It's my mic. Okay. Anything else before we adjourn? All right. So I do have a motion here somewhere that we adjourn at, I'm going to say 11:04. All in favor? We're done.